Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Bold and the Beautiful preview December 1st to 5th, Ridge and Eric back at it again. Dylan breaks down. The Bold and the Beautiful preview for the week of December 1st to 5th reveals Ms. Dylan Sydney Bullock comes clean to Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlan and Steffi Forrester, Jacqueline McInnes Wood. Bill Spencer, Don Diamont urges Katie Logan, Heather Tom to leave Forrester Creations and join him at Spencer Publications. Meanwhile, Ridge Forrester Torsten K tells Eric Forrester John McCook it might be time for him to retire, which did not sit well with the old man. Next week, Katie tells Bill that FC has hired a PR firm without her knowledge. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say Bill thinks it was a disrespectful move and urges Katie to quit. Bill urges Katie it's time for her to strike out on her own instead of staying under anyone's control. He even suggests she join him at Spencer Publications, reminding her that she and Will Spencer Crew Morrow will always have a place there. "You want me to leave Forrester and come back?" Katie asks Bill. "You shouldn't have to answer to Ridge and Brooke," he replies. Also next week, Electra Forrester Lania Grace and will bring Dylan to the Cliff House to talk with Finn and Steffi. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say the art teacher gets emotional as she comes clean about what she did to Luna Nozawa Lisa Yamada. Dylan confesses that she was the one driving the car that hit Luna, ultimately killing her. "You're the one that ran down Luna?" Finn asks in disbelief. "I'm so sorry," Dylan apologizes. "I killed your daughter." Meanwhile, Ridge puts pressure on Eric to finally retire from Forrester Creations. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say the dressmaker thinks it's time for his father to enjoy his life and leave the business to him and Steffi. "Go off into the sunset, do something," Ridge tells Eric. "That's what I would do if I were in your shoes." Of course, this does not sit well with Eric. "You're not in my shoes, Ridge," he defiantly reminds his son. Bold and the Beautiful viewers know Ridge and Eric have been down this road before. Will history repeat itself? The first week of December on The Bold and the Beautiful thrusts viewers back into the electric storm where love, loyalty, ego, and legacy collide at Forrester Creations. What should have been a quiet transition into the holiday season becomes a battleground of unresolved feelings, buried resentments, and shocking emotional outbursts that leave even the strongest Forrester men shaken. As the winter sun hits the Forrester windows on Monday, Ridge is already pacing the executive office, jaw tight, hands clenched, rehearsing the fight he's sure is coming. He doesn't want it. He swears he doesn't. But when it comes to Eric, wanting peace and keeping peace are two very different things. He knows any attempt at a calm conversation has a 50-50 chance of ending in a verbal landslide. Still, he steels himself, because nothing about this current feud is sustainable, not for him, not for his father, and certainly not for the company caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, Eric is on the opposite side of the building nursing frustration of his own. He believed, perhaps naively, that the last health crisis and emotional reckoning would finally bridge the painful distance between him and Ridge. Instead, it feels like they've slipped straight back into their old patterns, competing visions, competing loyalties, and a competition neither tries to start but both seem unable to avoid. When Eric's assistant slips him the morning schedule, he notices Ridge has blocked out time with him. Eric sighs. He knows what that means, another battle of wills disguised as a discussion. By mid-morning, the two men find themselves face to face. Ridge stands tall, authoritative, as though bracing for incoming fire. Eric watches him with weariness that only comes from a lifetime's worth of too many arguments, too many misunderstandings, too many moments where pride spoke louder than the heart. What begins as a firm but civil debate about leadership direction quickly spirals. Ridge accuses Eric of undermining him. Eric counters that he is simply protecting the company's creative soul. Ridge's voice sharpens. Eric's voice strengthens. Years of unspoken pain flood the room, pain about the past, about mistakes, about who's responsible for what and why. And once again, father and son are back at it, locked in the same loop they swore they'd escaped. But while the Forrester office becomes charged with familiar thunder, another storyline quietly cracks open across town, one that quickly turns far darker and far more personal. Dylan, once composed to the point of rigidity, walks into the Malibu house looking like he hasn't slept in 2 days. His usually tidy shirt is wrinkled. His breathing is uneven. It's clear something inside him has snapped, and he is struggling to keep the pieces together. The past few weeks have pushed him past emotional limits he didn't know he had. He keeps replaying the trauma, the guilt, the horrifying sequence of events tied to Luna, her death, the truth he confessed to Elektra, the weight of responsibility resting squarely on his shoulders. The more he tries to drown those images, the harder they cling to him. Elektra notices immediately. She sets down her coffee and approaches him carefully, like someone approaching an injured wild animal, sympathy in her voice, caution in her steps. Dylan tries to brush off her concern, mumbling something about being fine, being tired, being busy. But it's too weak, too hollow. Elektra places a hand on his arm, and that simple gesture cracks him. His shoulders collapse. His voice trembles. And for the first time, Dylan breaks down completely. It's not an elegant sadness, not the kind of poetic pain soaps sometimes paint with soft strings and slow motion. This is raw. Human. Ugly. A man shattered by truth and regret. Elektra gently guides him to sit, and once he starts talking, he can't stop. He speaks through tears about nightmares that jolt him awake, about hearing Luna's voice in the silence, about feeling like no matter what he does, he's drowning deeper in consequences he can't escape. Elektra listens, heart aching, even as her mind races. She knows Dylan needs more help than she alone can offer. But she also knows any wrong step, any push toward confession, therapy, or legal intervention could send him spiraling even further. Later in the week, Finn crosses paths with Elektra unexpectedly. He asks casual questions at first, but he quickly picks up on her anxious energy. She hesitates, lips pressed tight, clearly weighing whether to reveal what she knows about Dylan's unraveling. Finn senses trouble, he always does, but Elektra ultimately decides to protect Dylan, at least for now. She leaves Finn unsettled but without answers. And that is precisely what Finn can't stand. Back at Forrester, the Ridge and Eric crisis escalates when Brooke walks in on yet another argument. She tries to mediate, soft voice, hands raised, pleading for reason, but the tension is too thick. Ridge storms out, Eric sinks into his chair looking drained, and Brooke is left staring after them, realizing the holiday truce she hoped to build is slipping through her fingers. The week ends with Ridge alone in the design room after hours. The silence is eerie, almost haunted. His anger has burned out, replaced by something more troubling: fear. Fear that he and Eric will never truly repair what's broken. Fear that someday he will lose his father, and they will have wasted these days fighting over ego instead of cherishing the time they still have. Eric, in his office, feels that same fear twisting in his chest. And across town, Dylan stands at the edge of the Malibu terrace staring out at the ocean, wondering if he'll ever feel whole again. December begins not with holiday lights and peace, but with unrest, unresolved wounds, and emotional storms gathering on every horizon. And for Ridge, Eric, and Dylan, the week ends with one chilling truth: sometimes the battles we fight with others are nothing compared to the ones we fight within ourselves. Will Thomas Forrester crash Hope Logan's wedding? A B&B return fans crave. The CBS daytime drama The Bold and the Beautiful is facing a lull. Major storylines have concluded, leaving fans hungry for new drama. The return of a few key, off-screen characters could be the perfect solution to reinvigorate the show. Social media is abuzz with one name in particular. Viewers are clamoring for the return of Thomas Forrester, played by Matthew Atkinson. Thomas Forrester made a brief, 2-episode return recently. He comforted his mother, Taylor Hayes, after her breakup with Ridge Forrester. His appearance was abrupt and left many fans wanting more. His potential return is perfectly timed. Hope Logan is now engaged to Liam Spencer. A wedding seems imminent, possibly around the Christmas holidays. According to Production Insights, Matthew Atkinson was back filming for about a week. This filming block coincided with the production of Christmas episodes. This suggests another short-term return, not a permanent comeback. A longer return would allow Thomas to disrupt the wedding or advise on hope for the future designs. He could also bring his son, Douglas Forrester, back to Los Angeles. Hope desperately needs her son in her life. Thomas is not the only character fans miss. Quinn Fuller, played by Rena Sofer, left the show in 2022. Her departure was sudden, leaving her romance with Carter Walton unresolved. Her return could create instant conflict. She could attempt to win back Eric Forrester from Donna Logan. Alternatively, she could cause trouble for Carter's new relationship with Daphne Rose. Wyatt Spencer's absence is also felt deeply. His brother, Liam, has faced a fake cancer crisis and being shot. Their younger brother, Will, endured a traumatic event. Darren Brooks, the actor who plays Wyatt, is long overdue for a visit. His return would provide crucial support for the Spencer family during Liam's wedding. A deep-cut return to resolve a major storyline. Another surprising but fitting return would be Dr. James Warwick. The character, played by Ian Buchanan, was recently referenced on the show. Taylor Hayes was seen reading his book in her office. Dr. Warwick has a complex history with both Taylor and the notorious Sheila Carter. His return would fit perfectly into current plots. He could counsel his ex-wife, Sheila, especially if she loses Deacon Sharp. A reunion between Sheila and James could also free Deacon to be with Taylor. Finally, Rick Forrester's absence is conspicuous. Jacob Young, the actor who plays Rick, has been off the canvas since 2018. As the son of Brooke and Eric, his presence at family events is sorely missed. Bringing back these fan-favorite characters would inject much-needed energy. The current pairings lack conflict, making the show feel stagnant. Bringing back these fan-favorite characters would inject much-needed energy. The current pairings lack conflict, making the show feel stagnant. These returns could restore the classic, dramatic soapiness viewers love. There were whispers around Los Angeles, whispers swirling through the halls of Forrester Creations, through the quiet corners of Il Giardino, through every fashion office and modeling studio touched by the Logan Forrester feud. Whispers about a wedding most people never believed would happen. Hope Logan, the eternal optimist with a wounded heart, had decided to try again. Not with Thomas Forrester, not with a wild card rebound, not with a tortured designer still haunted by past mistakes. No, this time she had chosen someone stable, predictable, safe. Safe. The very word made some fans shudder. Because everyone knew Hope's heart had only truly burned once. And that heart had never fully stopped beating for Thomas Forrester. No matter how many clean breaks she attempted, no matter how many lines she tried to redraw. Time had passed, wounds had scabbed over, and everyone had moved on, or so they pretended. But not Thomas. Not really. He had left town months earlier in the most mysterious, abrupt way imaginable. Rumors claimed he had flown to Paris. Others whispered that he'd gone to New York for a career reset. A few even insisted he vanished into some exclusive design retreat in the Swiss Alps. Yet no one, not Ridge, not Steffi, not even Douglas, could ever pin him down. For the first time in his turbulent life, Thomas had become something few believed he could ever be: silent. Which is exactly why his name now hung in the air like static as the day of Hope's wedding arrived. Hope stood in front of the mirror in her mother's house, her reflection glowing yet restless, almost unsettled. The gown was classic, elegant, much less dramatic than a Forrester couture masterpiece, but perfect in its own soft simplicity. She tried smiling at herself, willing conviction into her expression. She whispered the line everyone expected her to believe: "This is right. This is safe. This is good." But her eyes betrayed her. Still thinking, Brooke asked gently from the doorway, trying not to sound concerned. Hope shook her head too quickly. "No. Just nerves." "Hope, sweetheart, no bride looks that pensive unless there's a reason." Brooke entered, smoothing a hand over her daughter's shoulder. "You deserve happiness. Don't let old ghosts cloud today." Hope's gaze softened. "Mom, Thomas isn't a ghost. He's somewhere. He left," Brooke said gently. "A man who truly wanted a future with you wouldn't disappear." Hope nodded, but the truth stung. And somewhere inside her, an unwelcome, persistent spark refused to dim. But she pushed the feeling away. Today needed to be simple. Steady. Safe. Across town, in a dim, quiet loft no one had stepped inside for months, a door opened. Thomas Forrester stood in the doorway, looking out at Los Angeles with the expression of a man standing on the edge of a cliff. His hair was a little longer, his jaw a little sharper, his posture a little more settled. He was not the frantic designer many remembered. There was a maturity about him now, a quiet certainty. He reached for his phone on the table. Dozens of unread messages, calls, invitations. But only one mattered. A simple text from Steffi from earlier that morning: "If you're coming, come now. If not, let it go forever." Thomas exhaled a slow breath. He had sworn he wouldn't return. Sworn he wouldn't interfere. Sworn he wouldn't repeat old patterns or become the villain of someone else's happily ever after. But all the vows in the world meant nothing when he pictured Hope walking down an aisle toward a man she didn't actually love. And Thomas knew, with a clarity that frightened him, that she didn't. He also knew he might be too late. But he stepped inside, grabbed his jacket, and left. At the wedding venue, a romantic garden estate just outside the city, the guests filled the seats, unaware that the higher drama hovering overhead had nothing to do with flowers or vows. Ridge adjusted his tie, pacing near the entrance. He wasn't thrilled about the match but had chosen diplomacy. Brooke remained a stone's throw away, guarding Hope's choice like a hawk guards her nest. Liam hovered anxiously, pretending he had no opinions, which fooled absolutely no one. It was Steffi who seemed the most unsettled. She scanned every arriving car, every gate, every path leading toward the venue. She kept checking her phone, then checking the time, then watching the horizon like someone waiting for a storm. Because Steffi Forrester knew her brother better than anyone. And she knew he had changed, but not enough to let Hope Logan slip away without a fight. Not enough to stay silent while Hope convinced herself she didn't want what she really did. And then, just as the music began to swell, Steffi's breath caught. A dark SUV pulled into the gravel drive. No fanfare. No entourage. No dramatic screech of tires. Just Thomas, stepping out in a perfectly cut charcoal suit, his eyes set with a determination that made Steffi whisper, "Oh, no." Inside, the ceremony had begun. Hope walked slowly down the aisle, every eye fixed on her, every step heavy with expectation. She saw her groom waiting for her. He smiled warmly, kindly, the smile of a man who would never hurt her, never throw the world into chaos. Safe. She took another step. But then she froze. Though the music continued, though every guest leaned forward with anticipation, Hope felt something shift in the air, an energy she knew too well, something that tugged at her more powerfully than memory, more urgently than fear. The doors at the back of the aisle had opened. Hope didn't turn at first. She didn't need to. She felt him. The entire crowd turned. Murmurs rippled through the space. And there he stood, Thomas Forrester, expression unreadable but eyes unmistakably, irrevocably locked on Hope. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He simply stood there, a man who had broken, rebuilt, vanished, and returned all for this moment. Hope inhaled sharply, her grip on her bouquet tightening. Her groom whispered, "Hope." She whispered back, "I need a moment." And then she turned fully to face Thomas. Her breath caught. His voice was quiet, steady, changed yet charged with everything he had never stopped feeling. "Hope," he said softly, "before you say yes to a life you don't want, please just look at me. No demands. No declarations, no melodramatic speeches. Just a simple, haunting plea. The exact kind of line that could reshape a future." And though the ceremony paused, though the guests whispered, though Brooke looked ready to charge down the aisle, Hope did look. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't look away. The question was no longer whether Thomas Forrester would crash Hope Logan's wedding. He already had. Now the question was whether Hope would choose safety, or choose the one man who had always set her heart on fire.